Morning, market chameleons and soon to appear. Dimitri Pargamonic. How you doing, Dima?
Good morning, Will. Sorry.
Woo! I
Clicking
thought
on
that
the
was a technical glitch.
clicking on the mute button didn't work. So,
That happens. That happens. Let's go right to the disclaimer, buddy. What do you think?
Okay. Yep. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining. Before we get started, keep in mind, Will and I, Market Chameleon, we're not registered investment advisors. We're not broker dealers, and we're not telling you what to do. We're just sharing ideas. If you need professional help, call your broker. That's what they're there for, to help answer your questions and provide you with guidance. There's the disclaimer.
Excellent.
And we could get started. I'm going to share my screen real quick.
Today we're on part 3, right? Option block trade. We're going to go through that.
Yeah, so I'm going to go over, day 3 of option block trades. We've been kind of going over what the different data elements are in the table and the significance of them. I think we have a little bit more to go today, and then we'll start doing a screen and looking for ways you could use the screener to narrow down potential trade opportunities, okay, or trade ideas. So before we get to that, as usual, I'm just going to take a look real quick what's moving in the pre-market hours. And this is our pre-market report. We have the most active stocks, biggest percentage gainers, biggest percentage decliners. I'm going to just quickly take a look at the number of stocks that made our percentage gainers list. So we got 83. Number of stocks on our percentage gainers list, decliners list, 41. So a 2-to-1 ratio favoring the bullish side. So from that perspective, looks like a more bullish bias at the open. I'm going to use this market cap filter just to see what's going on in the higher market cap stocks. So we're going to take a look at market cap 20 billion or higher. So here we got 17 that made the percentage gainers list, 10 on the percentage decliners list. Just this one, Ford sticking out, trading 3 million shares in the pre-market hours, up 2.9%. I think like this is
supposedly the orders are off the charts for that new Ford F-150 that's going to be electric.
Oh wow, okay, yeah, because we've been seeing this on the percentage gainers list, I feel like almost daily now with a lot of volume. So 3 million shares trading, 2.9%, up 2.9% in the pre-market hours. There's some headline news there. And did you see the car? Well,
I did. I already have my $100 in for the Tesla pickup truck.
Okay.
So I've known, but it looked. I thought very similar to the F-150s as they are, but people are excited about it. I don't know what the technology is as far as getting you around with their AI technology. I mean, that's where Tesla is probably way ahead. Like the other companies may have to lease that technology from Tesla, right?
Right. So they have an entire like artificial intelligence system there that's in the works collecting data. And what is it for? To going forward to help autonomous driving?
Yeah, well, even right now, just driving down the street, your hands aren't supposed to leave the Tesla's wheel, but it will let you know, and move you if you're doing something wrong.
Oh, really?
When I wasn't lying about putting the $100 up for the Tesla truck. I did. So I ordered one, right? And there were different options. Like you could buy a second engine, so you have more pull power. That was like an extra $5,000. An extra battery was another extra $5,000. So they have all these build on tops. But the most expensive one was the AI feature. It's $10,000.
$10,000 for the AI feature. And what does that do?
It in theory is going to get you from point A to point B. I mean, people are always using it, but you can imagine
is it like on autopilot then? It could get you from point A to point B, and in theory you could just sit there and it'll do it itself?
In theory, yes.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. So we'll keep an eye on that. And I think that China is actually even ahead of us on that, because you need some kind of infrastructure for those to work well, right? Like something that they have sensors and stuff around their streets, and that helps the autopilot driving.
Yeah, and it certainly works best if all the cars are on the same system, right? And that would be super hard to do here in the US, but in China, they can say, listen, every car has to be on the network, right? So then
Yeah.
the whole network communicates with each other.
Right. Yeah,
So
no, that is really, interesting, exciting technology. So, as we learn more, we'll bring it up. If there are no questions, Will, on the pre-market movers, to save time, I'm going to head back to the option block trade screener because we're already like day 3 into it and still going over it. So let me know. If not, I'm going to move. If no questions, I'm going to move on.
yep, you can move on.
Okay, so I'm going to come back here under screeners, option block trades. We've been doing the screener all week. We talked about all these different data elements on the option block trade screener and their significance, and where some traders come to look for potential trade ideas. You narrow them down. Of course, you want to do further research to see what is the catalyst or thesis behind the trade. You never just want to jump on the trade. But certainly a lot of people use this to generate ideas, and it's really filtering out particular trades that are significant because of their size, the quantity in the trade. We right now have it set to at least 200 contracts or more, but there are different ways to look at it besides volume, the notional value, you could keep narrowing down significant trades. So we went over this main page in the last 2 days. So I'm going to now go to the next one, is the performance tracking. And here, the idea behind the performance tracking is if you look at some certain trade ideas and you want to see, well, how did they work out, going forward, right? So you could track a certain trade or do a filter and then track how did it go doing forward. Was I right in my theory? Was I right in my guess or not? And the idea behind it is when you're looking at it, it's not really a good idea to forward test, right? Because forward testing means, well, this I have a theory. When this happens, I think next something else is going to happen, so I'm just going to go and piggyback it. And then you sit there and you forward test it with your own money, and that could become very expensive, right? So another way of doing it is saying, let me go back, take a look at a certain criteria that I would look for, and then I'm going to track it to see if it worked out the way I anticipated. Okay, so this is the idea by tracking the performance of an option trade after the trade, right? So this trade occurred. We know what the price of the trade was. We know the quantity of the trade. We know all the details of the trade. And then we could see going forward, what happened going forward, in that option. So let's just kind of go through this tab here. And here's the trade over here, so we have the trade details, what the option was, the strike, the time it traded, the symbol. Here, we kind of put a reference as what a theoretical value of this option is at the time of the trade based on the option pricing model, the Black-Scholes model, using historical volatilities. Okay, so we look at what this option, so we know this option traded at 62 cents over here. At the time of the trade, if we use the Black-Scholes model and we plugged in the 20-day historical volatility into the Black-Scholes model, then this option theoretically would be worth $1.38. If we use the 1-year historical volatility in SPY, then based on the 1-year volatility, this option would be worth $1.67. And if we used a mix of the 20-day and 1 year, basically, the average of 20-day volatility and 1-year volatility, this option would be worth $1.53. So it kind of gives you a perspective of where this option traded. And if we plugged in the Black-Scholes model and used historical realized volatility in the stock, where would the theoretical value be of this option? So this way we could just, as a reference, compare it if we wanted to go back to that. This is the trade. the initial trade, and then we follow this trade. Where's the current price? So here, this really just traded yesterday at the end of the day. There's a couple maybe minutes left. So you could see here, it traded at 62 cents. The bid was 62, the ask was 63 at the time. And then it drifted up a little bit before the close. So the bid was 63 cents, the offer 64. So you could see that if we use that midpoint, it would be up 1.5 cents from the trade price. So that's up 2.4%. We also want to track, well, what happened to the implied volatility. So since this traded, it looks like the current implied volatility is 9.7. So the implied volatility ticked up 4.1% from the initial trade. And then we see that the stock price was $419.07 at the time of the trade. It was $419.05. So the percentage change is insignificant. That's why you don't see it. It's basically at the same spot. So that's a performance tracker. So let's see how, and then you got some more details of these, of this trade, the delta of the trade, the exchange it traded at, and the condition. So how we may use this is the following. What if we had a theory, and I'm just, making this as I go up, making this up as I go. And let's say I'm going to go back in time and say, show me the trades between 9:30 and 10 o'clock. In my theory, and I'm just developing a theory as I go. So guys, don't do this. This isn't any kind of advice or recommendation. I'm just making this up as I go for illustration purposes.
You want me to bring the disclaimer back up, dude?
Yeah, we might have to, because there's always going to be one guy, but I think everybody kind of gets the idea here. So I'm going to go back and say, what if I started the day out 9:30 to 10 o'clock, right? I'm going to go back to this main page, and I'm going to pretend that I'm looking for something specific that I think is an indicator that, if this trade happens, that means I want to buy this call or this put to the end of the day because I think there's going to be a follow through. Okay. So I'm looking right now. The first thing I filtered out was the first half hours of trades from yesterday. And I'm going to say, I want to look at intermarket sweeps because those are more aggressive orders. So that's what interests me, intermarket sweeps. And I want to look for trades that the quantity of the trade was above the open interest. In other words, it was a new opening trade. So here we most likely, right, it's a new opening position. Why? Because in the morning, for example, here UBS, there's only 14 contracts of open interest. Remember, open interest, we only see once a day. That's when it gets calculated. We see it in the morning. We won't see the new open interest until the next day when the OCC calculates it based on settled trades, exercises, assignments, and all that. So since the open interest in the morning was 14 and 58 of these contracts traded, we could infer that there's a new interest, new position being open because the most you could close out is 14, right? So that's the most you could close out. That's all the open interest. So since we're at 58, there's new positions being opened up. So another thing, I'm going to just filter this. Let me see how many I have so far. So I got 13 stocks. And I'm going to go and look for let's look for calls. Okay, so I'm going to look for where the option details, option type, calls. That's all that interests me, calls. So now I got 1, 2, 3, 4. Now here I see there's only 4 that met these conditions from 9:30 to 10, but the trade notional is not that high. This is what I'm noticing. It's 50 contracts, but it's $3,900 worth of options, 12,200 worth, so it's not very high notional, but let's just stick with this theory and say, if this was something that interests me and I thought this is a piggyback, right? How would that work out by the end of the day? Would this be profitable? So here we go. WABA, right? I see June 18th call, 71 of them traded for $1.66 on the ask side. It was an intermarket sweep order, so more aggressive, and 71 contracts traded, which is most likely opening up new position because there's only two. The question is, would have this worked out if I bought that option, right? So that's what we want to know, and that's what the point of the tracking is, to say, well, where did it close? Where is the most recent price? And that kind of sometimes is almost, you want to wait to see confirmation is it moving in the direction that you expected. Now you could form a different thesis behind it as well, because you could go and say, okay, this is interesting, but what else is going on in WBA? Do they have any kind of events coming up? Do I think the stock is undervalued? Maybe technical analysis. So you still want to go further and research it, right? But let's just say this is all that interests us for now. What happened to this option? What happened to this option and these two options? So that's where we go to the performance tracker. So let's take a look. So here we go. WBA. Remember the trade was $1.66. Right now it closed at 126, 133, down 22%. So that wouldn't have worked out if you piggyback that trade. Implied volatility down 10%, and the stock, it was down 0.5%. So you could see that stock at the time of the trade, $52.29. It dropped by 28 cents, down 0.5%. But that option, there's some, lost some pretty significant premium, down 22%. QS, there are two trades there. We see one at 78 cents. That option, the most current price, right now we're closed. It's going to keep tracking it today, but the most current price from yesterday's close, the market was 83 cents to $1.10. So if we use the midpoint as the fair value, that's up 23.7%. The implied volatility did tick down since that trade, down 4.2%, but that stock is up 5.1% from the morning. So you could see there, when these two traded, right, the stock was 25.63 at 9:58.02, 25.63 at the end of the day, 26.92, stock up 5.1%. These options are up 23.7, 28.5, right? So the idea is they're not all going to work out, but does your theory, if your theory is correct, are you more likely to be a winner than a loser? Are the probabilities in your favor or not? You're not looking, no trader's looking for 100%, because then you have an arbitrage. 100% is improbable unless you're doing some kind of arbitrage, where you have some serious edge over everybody else.
Hey, D,
Yep.
can you just go through again how you got to the screen? We get chameleons who pop in throughout the episode, so they're just asking
in the top menu, screeners, option block trades.
Awesome. Hope that helps, Mike.
So this is the point of tracking it as you go. Now let's give it here. Let's do a different one. I'm going to clear this out. Okay. And remember, you could forward test. That's up to you if you want to use your money and just say, well, I'm going to forward test with my own money and piggyback and just jump on these things. From my experience, that's much more expensive and, much more painful to learn, okay, than at least starting out testing your theory to see if it's sound. Do you see more chances of the odds are more in your favor than, at least before you're always going to forward test anyway, but before you do that, you at least want to have some kind of study done to see that, yeah, this is at least a sound idea, sound investment. So let's say we went back one day and we said, well, what about from May 25th to the present time? What if I did that the same exercise? And let's just say May 25th, I just want to see things that, trade condition. Again, let's just put auto execution, intermarket sweep, or regular. I'm not going to be, either one of those is fine with me. I'm going to look for call options, right? I'm going to take a look for maybe a minimum notional value of 50,000. Okay, so whatever this trade was, it had to be, sorry, I put below, above 50,000. Okay, so this notional value, you could see here, 200 traded for $3.29. So that means that trade was $65,800 worth of options. Okay, in option premium paid for that particular option. So we're looking at for a little bit bigger trades. I'm going to continue, maybe, let me see how many I have. So I still got 975. So still a lot of them. Let's take a look at stock type. I'm going to look for common, okay? Because the idea is that ETFs, they can move up and down, but maybe somebody is doing their homework in this particular stock, because it's almost impossible for you to know if the entire market's going to go up or it's going to go down. But in a particular stock, maybe you could do your homework and get a certain edge. So we're going to take a look at call options, common stock. These are the trade conditions, notional value, 50 grand. And let's take a look at, we could do spot price. I just want stocks that are above 10 bucks. Let me see. Still got 647. I'm going to keep narrowing this down. Let's say the trade price had to be above 25 cents. 641. So let's just keep it. Let's just see what's going on. Okay, with that. Let's sort this by the biggest notional. All right. So here's Facebook, $7.5 million worth of these options traded. Right. So 2,000 options, $37.65. The strike price was 300. The stock was 328. So you can see that's a pretty big trade in notional terms. So let's see what happened to these trades. So I'm going to go to the performance tracker. And remember, this is tracking it from the original trade to the most recent market. Okay, so this traded May 25th. This is going to compare it to the end of day May 26th. Performance tracker. So here we see that this option is down 1.5%. Right, so you can see that it traded 37.65, but the market is $37, 37.20, down 1.5%. UNH down 1%. So this way you could kind of track the stock is in close to where it was, 327.66, 328.06, very close. So you see where I'm heading at. Like, you want to, because what some people are doing, and maybe some people are reading that what they should be doing is, well, if $7.5 million or $3.7 million traded on the ask, well, somebody must know that something is going on, and I got to jump on that trade. And that's the thing and if you're doing that, and you're ignoring what history is telling you, this is the trap you could start falling into. Okay, because you could see here 640 here. I'll actually do that. The trade side on the ask. People are, and I think that people are being taught some of this by people out there. So look here, trade side. So this is a big trade that happened on the ask side. So the theory is, well, if we have a bid and an offer, and the trade price was the same as the offer, that means somebody came in and paid the offer, right? So somebody came in, IPOE, paid the offer $10.15, $3.2 million worth of options. So what are people, I'm not telling you, but this is what people are saying they're hearing from out there being told to do this. Well, that means that somebody bought $3.2 million worth of IPOE on the offer. Why would they do that? They have a lot of money. That means they know something, and boom, there's and then that's where people are jumping in. And by the way, people want to do this in real time because they're afraid that if they don't do this, they're going to miss out. Okay.
Now you're saying that because people are constantly communicating with you about what they would like to have on the Chameleon, correct?
Exactly. And I'm like, look, why do you think we built it this way? So you could go and test it. This isn't a trading platform. This is so you could go test it so you don't get in trouble, because, you're going to put up your real-time quotes. You're going to go do this. And then you're going to figure out painfully with your money that, it doesn't work out the way I thought. And why, and because you didn't do your research, you didn't actually go and test your theory. You just kind of said, well, that makes sense to me, I'm going to go do it. And then you forward test, and then you find out, let's take a look here. So you could see here, negatives, positives, negatives, so your chances, look, I'm just scanning right here. There are more negatives than positives. Okay. More, you see these reds? These reds are saying that if you bought it at exactly like here's what we're testing here. You're not only are you picking, we're testing it as if you were in on the same trade. You piggyback exactly the same price that this happened. That's the test. Not that you were a little bit late. There's no delay. Well, I missed it. No, you piggybacked exactly the same price that this trade occurred. You got in on the same price, right? 675. This is your return. Okay. You can't get more real time than that, right? This is your return. You piggyback exactly at 11:30. That's your return. So this
we've had people on. Well, I'll mention Felix Frey. Anyone who doesn't know him, search him on the internet. He's got a long history, and this is one of the things he really looks at. And he's not like, "Ooh, I got to get in right away." He right. Does he sees something, and he builds his picture around what he sees
to
right?
improve your probabilities, right?
Yeah.
So what you want to do is keep improving your probabilities and saying, well, maybe what happened to the ones, if these are interested to me, what happened, what were other surrounding circumstances that I could look for that I could filter for these type of situations, right? That's what you want to start looking at. If you're interested in these type of situations, this is why we have a research report for you. What were the other circumstances in AMC or ZS or CMC that I should know about? Because obviously just doing it, just going in there and looking at, a big trade that happened on the offer, on the ask side with 3 million or whatever it was, it's not going to work out for you. You need to keep, doing the research to say, well, what was different about the successful ones that I should be looking at? And then you want to go in there, and then you have all the details. You have the timestamp, you have the symbol, you could go start looking at all the other relevant information that could have been the catalyst for this move.
Yeah, and for those who care, I just put the link, and it was one of his best episodes with us. He did a whole breakdown of how he builds a trade idea. So yeah. I put a link to that video. And D, could you show before you leave? Actually, a new Chameleon was asking, how do you see the entire series? And I know you just spent a lot of time with the development team building a new video tab where our videos flow right to. So if people don't want to have to go to the YouTube and search for our channel and dig through it there.
Oh, how did you? Yeah, so you see here the videos up here. So I just started adding here because we had a lot of people. We used to have a pop-up and it would just lead you to the YouTube channel. people found that annoying. So what we started doing, look here, for a week now, every video we do, I kind of put it up here in the videos. So you could see here, option trade screener part 1, part 2, part 3. You could go in here and take a look and watch the previous ones. Again, option block trade screener here. We might go one more round just to do a few other screens.
Wait, are you seeing this? Are you saying this is going to be a 4-part series now?
It might have to be a 4-part series. It might
Awesome.
have.
Awesome.
Yeah. And hopefully people like it, and I think part 4 will wrap it up.
All right, perfect. And that will be tomorrow, which is Friday. So perfect. It ends up the week. Also, I did mention Discord. There's a bunch of communication on the chat today. A lot of new people. There's a Discord group made up of chameleons by chameleons, and it's not only discussing Market Chameleon, but trade ideas, interest in life story, whatever. But it's a Discord group. I can get you a link if you email me, williammcbride@gmail. I will put that in the chat again. Awesome job again today, Dima, bringing the third part of now a 4-part series. Thanks, buddy.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Stay safe. Have a great trading day. Thank you for joining, and hope